This morning I'm standing beside the A449, right on the Herefordshire and Worcester county boundary, and I'm here to do my third part of the Malvern Hills. Across the road from the British Camp car park, where I had parked my car, was the Malvern Hills Hotel, perfectly positioned for exploring the local area and to enjoy the many different walks around the hills. Walking down to the lower and narrowing end of the car park, I followed a downhill tarmac track that curved through woodland. When the track eventually exited the woods, I was beside British Camp Reservoir. Here I got my first views of the day of more of the Malvern Hills above me to my right. I walked past a house on the left to continue steeply downhill into more woodland. At a fork, I took the left-hand path downhill, which skirted around the foot of Tinker's Hill. At the bottom of the descent, I went through a metal gate, exiting the woods, and kept ahead across a field. I now had great views over the open countryside to the east. At the far side of the field, I went through a gate onto a farm drive, where I turned left. Reaching the road, I turned right, passing the entrance to Little Malvern Court, but my way was into the grounds of the Priory. In the Middle Ages, Little Malvern Priory was one of the smallest Benedictine monasteries in the country. Nowadays it is even smaller, comprising just the tower and the east end of the church, which dates from a late 15th and early 16th century rebuilding. Nevertheless, this is a delightful building, which is enhanced by its setting at the foot of the thickly wooded hills. Retracing my steps to the road, I turned right, then right again over a stile beside a metal gate at a footpath sign. Lovely little priory, and whilst I was inside I got talking to a gentleman who looks after it, and he was hoping to meet the local cleaner, he was telling me, because he didn't want the cleaner to wax the tiled floor too much. Quite interesting actually. He was telling me some history of the stonework and the stained glass windows, so really a nice guy. Anyway, time's getting on, I must press on. I headed diagonally across 2 fields to a stile, then crossing a third to shortly climb a stile by a hedge corner. Passing to the left of a house, I went through a gate and along a tree-lined track to reach Hancock's Lane. I turned right along the lane, and then very soon I reached the northern fringes of Castlemorton Common. Well, it's the 29th of October 2019, and I love this part of the year because it's that time again when all the leaves on the trees change colour. Just autumn is so picturesque. Wherever you go, I just love all the autumn colours, but obviously coming to the Malvern Hills today and seeing it in the autumn, fantastic. Castlemorton Common is one of several such areas below the Malverns. Despite being crossed by roads, it still retains something of the appearance and atmosphere of the medieval chase. Malvern Chase was originally a royal forest, covering a large area to the east of the hills, but was given by Edward I to the powerful Gilbert de Clare, Earl of Gloucester, when the latter married the king's daughter in 1290. I can see where I'm heading for now. I'm just about to join another lane, which I'm going to follow up to the foot of the hills again, and that's where I left the Malvern Hills during my last visit, so I'll be able to pick up from where I left off last time. Well, I'm just below Swinyard Hill now, which is where I started and finished my previous walk in the Malverns. But today, I'm actually going to be climbing up Swinyard Hill. I took the wide gravelled path, close to the point where the roads divided. This wide path slowly climbs to the east of Swinyard Hill, but I wanted to get onto the ridge, so I turned off where a path very soon climbed up steeply to the left. actually see where the River Severn's flooded there. We've had a lot of rain over the last week, and River Severn is always a bad place for floods. I wasn't sure if it was going to be easy getting here this morning, actually. When I drove down the M5 on my way to the Malverns, I had to cross the Severn at one point, and I do know that some of the roads have been closed today, but luckily I got through, but I could still see how close to the roads that the river was, where it had actually burst its banks with the floods.
I took the broad track ahead, which kept along the ridge, and from now on, fantastic all-round views.
It's a familiar sight. Well, the wind's picking up again, but it's lovely. I'm finally on the summit of Swinyard Hill now.
Soon I passed in front of Clutter's Cave, also known as Giant's Cave, apparently named after an 18th century occupant, who from the size of the cave was certainly no giant.
Boo! That's Hangman's Hill in the background. I'm standing on broad downs at the moment, but next is Millennium Hill.
I came to a circular direction stone, one of several erected by the Malvern Hills conservators. I turned left in the British Camp direction and headed steeply uphill along a stone path onto Millennium Hill. I passed through the outer ramparts of the Iron Age fort, and at the top I bore right upon an open grassy area as I headed for the summit of Millennium Hill.
Well, I'm now on the windy summit of Millennium Hill. I've just got one more hill to do today, and that's the one ahead of me. That's Herefordshire Beacon, otherwise known as British Camp. British camp is one of the largest and most impressive Iron Age forts in the country, with high banks and deep ditches. The outer ramparts are 11¼ miles in circumference. The fort covered an area of about 30 acres, and it has been estimated could house 20,000 people. From the summit, an often breezy spot 1,114 feet high, the views over Herefordshire, the northern hills of the Malverns, and across the Severn to the Cotswolds are truly magnificent, described by the 17th century writer Evelyn as the goodliest in England.
Well, that's Herefordshire Beacon and British Camp, and it has been fantastic up here, but so windy. I'm going to get out of the wind now.
From Herefordshire Beacon and British Camp, a broad, well-constructed, partially stepped path led downhill as I continued northwards.
Well, it is now becoming considerably calmer as I descend from Herefordshire Beacon. Not much further to go now.
Before long, the path dropped down to the A449 beside the Malvern Hills Hotel and the British Camp car park, where my walk started.
So that's another walk in the Malvern Hills done today. Absolutely wonderful. Well, I'm actually staying in the area for a few nights now, so I'm going to have a cup of tea here at the cafe and I'm going to go on to my digs. But I have to say, the Malvern Hills just gets better and better each time I come here.